colleges talking about financial aid, hot topic. So,
Awesome, yeah. Hello, everybody. How are we doing? Good. My name is Catherine Russell. I am the Community Engagement Specialist for a TRIO program. Has anybody heard of TRIO before? No? Does anybody know what it means to be a first-generation student?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, what does that mean?
Oh, and like, you're the first person in your family to attend a college?
Yeah, exactly right. So TRIO programs, when you see the word TRIO, those serve first-generation students, and that's a really exciting identity to have. There's extra resources for first-generation students, like TRIO programs, as well as scholarships and other supports like tutoring, help with academic advising, and other things like that. So wherever you end up going to college, make sure you get connected with those resources if you are a first-generation student. But today I'm going to be talking a little bit about financial aid one-on-one, so kind of the basics, the different ways you can receive financial aid, and how to apply as well. A little bit about my program. So in EOC, all TRIO programs are federally funded by the Department of Education. So it's through grant money. So all of our services are completely free. No matter what, when you see TRIO, it'll be free. And like we talked about, they exist to remove barriers for first-generation students. Okay. So some of the other services that my program can do, we help with academic planning and advising, so helping you decide what pathway you want to be on, what you want to study, and how to get to that job that you want. We help with career exploration, that same kind of thing. Helping you apply, doing those admissions applications. So when you're writing those essays and working on your admissions like Amanda was just talking about, we can look over your applications, help you, kind of think of what are your volunteer experiences, what things can you include. We also help with things like looking for GED resources or high school equivalency resources if anyone doesn't have that. As well as applying for FAFSA, financial aid scholarships, and that's what I'll talk about. And so these are the things I'm going to talk about with financial aid. So what is it? How do we apply? What happens next? And then what else do you need to know in the process? And I know this isn't the most exciting topic, and you probably won't remember everything that I say, but if you remember a few pieces here and there, when you get to the point where you're working on all of this stuff, it'll be really helpful just to not have to waste extra time learning about how to do the process. All right. So with the different types of financial aid, the first type is grants. Anytime you see the word grant, it's free money that you'll never have to pay back. So that's money you get to use either from the government, from your institution, could come from anywhere, but it's free money. Scholarships are also free money, and they can come from a couple of different places, either from your college institution or from a private organization, anything like that. And then loans are either private or through the federal government as well. But when people typically think federal student loans or student loans, they're usually talking about the loans that you can get through the FAFSA application. And so a little distinction here is the difference between subsidized loans and unsubsidized. So the subsidized loans, they don't accrue interest or they don't get higher and higher while you're still in school. Unsubsidized loans, they will accrue interest the moment you take them out. So the moment you get that money from the loans, they're going to get higher and higher. By the time you graduate, you might have an extra $1,000 or something like that to pay on top of your loans. So get the subsidized loans if you can. Okay, and I was talking a little bit about this too. There's different places that the financial aid can come from. So it can come from the federal government. It can come from the state government. For example, there's a grant here in Colorado called the College Opportunity Fund, and most people qualify for it just from growing up or being a resident here in Colorado. So that's typically anywhere between like $500 to $2,000 in free money a semester, just by being a Colorado resident going to a Colorado school. And there's also institutional grants and scholarships. I'll talk a little bit more about those when I get to the scholarship portion. There also are private loans. And so those you would apply for separately than you would through the FAFSA application. It might be through like a credit union or your bank, something like that. And then, but one thing to note about private loans is that if you're thinking of loan repayment plans and hearing about those kind of things in the news, those only apply to federal student loans, not private student loans. Your agreement for repayment will be between you and whoever you take it out with if you do get a private loan. And then there's also ways to get tax credits. So like, for example, if you're sending a child to school or if that child is paying out of their own pocket for some expenses within whatever that might be, tuition, supplies, anything like that, you can actually write those off on your taxes when you file the following year. All right, so who has heard about the FAFSA this year and all of the issues that it's having? Some of us, yeah. So if you've heard about that, I don't want anybody to panic. This should be the only year where it's kind of stressful and all over the place. How many seniors do we have here? One, maybe a couple? Okay, cool. So you only apply for FAFSA your senior year. You apply the year before you're going to go to college. And the application stands for the Free Application for Federal Student Aid. So everybody in the United States, anybody who qualifies, fills this application. And then they communicate that to the college that you're going to attend. So when you're going to fill the FAFSA, and this isn't going to be super relevant for everybody, but feel free to take a picture. When you get to this point when you're filling out the FAFSA, it'll be super helpful. Everybody only ever has one account on that website. So they tie it to your social security number, or they identify you another way and only make it so that you have that one account. So it's really important to remember what email, what phone number, and the passwords that you attach to your account. And it's on the studentaid.gov website. So that's where you'll create all of the accounts. That's where you'll do the application, all of that good stuff. Once you create your account, you wait 1 to 3 days for that identity verification, and that's when you can go ahead and start working on the FAFSA application. So when they look at the FAFSA, they look at your taxes from 2 years prior to the start of the FAFSA year. So right now, people are applying for the 2024-2025 FAFSA, and they look at your taxes from 2022. So they call it prior year, 2 years back. And it's the 1040 that you usually need, but having tax documents like your W-2s available is also helpful just in case. All right, and then the new function of the FAFSA this year and why it is kind of having some issues right now is they actually removed a barrier of needing your taxes. Now they should be able to transfer your tax information on the back end, making the application take 25 minutes about. So it's pretty simple if you can, have all the information you need ahead of time. All right. And so here, see here. Okay. All right. So most of you will be in a spot where you are considered a dependent through FAFSA, meaning you'll need to include your parent or guardian information and have that considered in your determination for aid. So only one parent should need to make the account, so long as either your parents are not married or they're married and file taxes jointly. So the only time both parents need to make an account is if they're married but do not file taxes together, if that makes sense. And so just by signing up for the FAFSA and being willing to contribute your financial information, that does not make you obligated to pay for your child's college. It doesn't make you obligated to pay their loans back or anything like that. They just need your information in order to calculate the student's financial aid eligibility. And there are some circumstances where students who are dependent may not need to include their parents, and some of those are if the student is married, has children, is unable to contact their parents for reasons of, abuse, or if they are experiencing homelessness. Those are all things that can make you a dependent in FAFSA's eyes. Okay. And so for the new FAFSA, I talked about that a little bit. You invite your parent to contribute on your application. So the student will send the parent an invitation through email, and that parent will log into their own account and do their portion of their student's application. So instead of it being one application on one student account, everybody who contributes does their portion within their own account. And then it will meet up together on the back end. Okay, and so if anybody's working on it this year, just be aware that there are some general glitches and slowness with the application. If you're having trouble submitting it, or if it's giving you an error message, there's a good chance it's not your fault. And it might take a longer process if a student is trying to get their parent an account and their parent does not have a social security number. So if that's your circumstance, feel free to reach out to the college you're applying to or to studentaid.gov and ask for extra assistance, as well as our program, and I'll give you all of that information as well. Okay. So we talked a lot about when to apply for admissions, things like that. In terms of the FAFSA, the sooner you apply once the application opens, the better. So typically every year it will open October 1st, and some colleges will have priority deadlines somewhere between January and March, depending on the college. So you want to get it done as soon as you can. This year, the application wasn't open until January 1st. So if you are applying, a lot of those deadlines have been pushed back. And if that's something you're worried about or curious about, you can also look on the school's website and see if they have pushed the deadline back. And so what happens after you finish the application? So you start the application and you submit it, and on the application it asks you to list up to 20 colleges that you're interested in attending. And so even if you're just considering one and you're not sure if you're going to get in yet, you can add it to your FAFSA application, and it will send the financial aid information to all 20 schools. And there's like no fee or no extra charge for including all 20 schools, so you might as well, even if you're just kind of considering a school, it's easier to add it when you first apply than to add it months later if you change your mind. And then it will go to the financial aid office at that school, and they will package your financial aid award. So that is all of the financial aid you have available to you, the grants, loans, and any other scholarships that you either applied for or are automatically qualified for via like something like first generation student status. Okay, so this applying for FAFSA early is also a really good way to help compare the cost and the estimated cost of attendance from the schools you're going to. So once they process the application, they should send you back the student aid award within 1 to 5 business days. And then you can go ahead and compare how many grants am I getting at CU Boulder versus CSU or wherever it is you're considering. It will help you make that decision ahead of time with kind of knowledge of what your first year cost of attendance is going to look like. This is a little bit niche as well, but for example, if you are doing the FAFSA and you find that your financial situation does not meet what was reported on the application, you can go through something called a professional judgment appeal, where that is where you would provide documentation over your current financial situation if for some reason you think you should qualify for the free money, but FAFSA told you, you don't qualify based off of your finances and things like that. All right, so if you are offered student loans within your award package, you do either have to decline or accept those. For grants, anytime you get free money on your college tuition, they will automatically apply that to your tuition bill. So you never have to worry about, are they going to, put that money on your account? Are you going to owe anything? If it's free money, they'll take it off automatically. And if you're offered student loans, you either have to accept or decline them. And so say they offer you $10,000 in loans. If you're comparing your financial aid award and you figure out you're only about $3,000 short, you can take out just that $3,000. You don't have to take out the full amount of the loan that they offer you. Okay, maybe someone's heard this before. Oh, my parents make a lot of money. Why should I apply for FAFSA? Regardless of how much money you think your family makes, or if you're not going to qualify, it's still a really good idea to apply no matter what. So there's no income cutoff. You can't make like a certain amount and all of a sudden you don't qualify. They take into account a lot of other things as well. So like how many students are in college at a time in your family, any debt to asset ratios and things like that. So even if you don't think you will qualify, it's worth it to go ahead and give it a shot. And typically at any financial aid office, they might require you to fill the FAFSA out to consider you for other scholarships. So they might have scholarships that are more what we call merit-based, based off of like grades and achievement rather than financial need. But they kind of want you to do the FAFSA first to show that, hey, I didn't qualify from my financial need. Do I qualify for anything based off of the activities I was in or the good grades I got and things like that? All right. And just in case anybody in here has this situation where they are a student without legal presence here in the United States, if they are undocumented, you can still apply for student aid here in the state of Colorado only. So that application is called CASFA. If you have any questions about that, feel free to contact our office. You have to have graduated from a high school here in Colorado in order to qualify, but it's a really good way to apply for state money if you are ineligible to apply for FAFSA. Okay, the fun part, scholarships. Has anybody applied to a scholarship yet? You have? Awesome, yeah. So there's different kinds. So there's institutional scholarships and private scholarships. Does anybody know what institutional would mean? What would that mean? The government? Potentially. Yeah, in a way, kind of. Yeah. They're the scholarships through the university or whatever school you're going through. So like CU Boulder or CSU, whatever school it might be, they have a pool of scholarships that they give only to their students. So most schools have one application. They call it like their general scholarship application, where you answer, a set of questions, maybe write a few short essays, but that short application automatically applies you for all of the scholarships within that school. So that's a really good application to start with, just to get, your a good investment on your time. You're applying for like 40 to 50 scholarships in just an hour or so. So that's a really good place to start. Other types of scholarships are private scholarships, and those can come from literally anywhere. If you can think of a scholarship, it's probably out there. I got one in college for being left-handed. It was only like $50, but hey, that's $50 they don't have to pay back, right? And so if you think it's out there, you can probably find it. And so there's what we call scholarship search engines, and I like to think of those like online dating, kind of. So like if you're making your account on a scholarship website, you want to give it as much information about you as you can, right? I like to do this, I'm involved in this, I run track, I'm in Quiz Bowl, all of these different activities, what you do outside of school, you put it on those scholarship generator websites, you create yourself an account, and it will populate scholarships based off of the qualities that you have. So it recommends what scholarships you could apply for based off of your characteristics, and that's a really good place to write like, I'm a first-generation student, or, I'm a first-generation American, whatever it might be, and really try and narrow down kind of those scholarships that you might qualify for more than, the average person. Some of these websites are free, so you can kind of, if you look up scholarship websites, you might see some of them cost some money to make an account. And the other thing to be a little careful about with these websites is they might start like contacting you sometimes. So it's a little bit of a give and take, whether, if you sign up for something, you might start receiving a lot more emails, but you might get a few more scholarships and things like that. So, all right. That is pretty much all I have for the general of financial aid. This is, where my office is, our phone number and our email. It's a little blurry there, but I'm happy to meet with anybody if they ever want help looking for scholarships, applying, admissions, financial aid, anything like that. Does anybody have any questions? Awesome.
Okay, that's it. But thank you all. If you have time, places, this is the first time we did this, so give feedback. Like what went well, especially for you kids. What was helpful, what was useful, what was stuff you already knew, parents too. So that if we're able to do this again, we can make sure that it's as valuable as possible. But thank you, Catherine.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Invaluable to all the students. And last but not least, thank you to Kyla. She was a student just like you guys are. And, she helped organize this very successful event, and she's giving back to our community, which one day you guys were able to do one day, I hope. All right, and in terms of, just want to say one thing about leadership experiences. I know many of you guys are, sports, what have you, leadership experience. However, just know that we can get leadership experiences in this community as well. I think we have Student for Free Tibet, that's an example. And another thing is, the Tibetan Association of Colorado, we can get volunteer hours. We can get leadership experiences if you just have interest in this. And you might, even though you're in high school, you might even be able to be part of our board or part of, any kind of TCC. And that is something that's, I think, very unique to Tibetan associations, Tibetan students, unlike any other Asian Americans. Or this is a pretty unique opportunity, and I've personally known, kids who are part of the organization. That's, when a college looks at its application, right, I'm sure you can speak on this. They're like, oh, what is this? Why are they part of this board of community? What is this thing? That's an opportunity that's not many other, especially when you're applying to those top 20, right? There are other Asian Americans and other who are really similar to you guys. And then you gotta have the one thing that sets you apart. And then this Tibetan Association can be that tool for you. So just something that I've seen throughout my life, and I think would benefit you guys. In the end, that's all. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you, Kyla, again.